I love the old car. We have a great privilege today visiting with us some of my pastor friends from Missouri and from around the country. If you guys will stand and be recognized, Terry and Travis and Keith and Alan and Jeff. And are we missing anybody else? Now I'll let all of you stand for a little bit of a scripture reading from Ecclesiastes chapter 9. And remember, the writer of Ecclesiastes was very enthusiastic. Go, eat your food with gladness. Drink your wine with a joyful heart. God has already approved what you do. Always be clothed in white. Always anoint your head with oil. Enjoy life with your wife, whom you love, all the days of this meaningless life that God has given you under the sun, all your meaningless days. For this is your lot in life and in your toilsome labor under the sun. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. From the realm of the dead where you're going, neither is there working, nor planning, nor knowledge, nor wisdom. I've seen something else under the sun. The race is not to the swift, or the battle to the strong, nor does food come to the wise, nor wealth to the brilliant, nor favor to the learned. But time and chance happen to them all. Moreover, no one knows when their hour or day will come. Dear friends, this is the word of the Lord. May God send His Holy Spirit to bless it to our hearts as we gather in His name today. Please be seated. Well, we continue in our series, Neglected Virtues. 2 weeks ago, we talked about flexibility, and so I'm sure all of you have now become completely flexible people, that any change that happens around the church, you'll just spring right in and hop right in with a joyful heart. So we're praying for the success of that sermon. And then last week, we talked about devotion, and I just pray that we all find the ability and the strength to be devoted to one another and to our families and to our God. Today, we're talking about joy and being raised in a repressive Lutheran upbringing. It's been something that I have struggled with to pursue and figure out in my life. And I can tell you that I love the book of Ecclesiastes. I don't know that I could tell you it's my favorite because it's kind of strange. But if you've read the book of Ecclesiastes, one of the things that I really love about it is the writer is just normal. He's just a normal human person, and his heart is kind of on the table, and you can get the sense that he's struggling with meaning and purpose and joy in this life. And he's not sugarcoating it and making it all sound so spiritual and wonderful. What he's inviting us to do is to see the spiritual in the mundane, to see the wonder in the ordinary, to see the gifts, the joy, the excitement in life. The author's tried it all, work and wisdom and pleasure and folly and wealth and advancement, and he says it's all meaningless. It's like chasing the wind. And I think what he means, it's not that those things are bad, but they're not the end. They're not the goal. The goal in life is to know and love God, and if you get focused on those things, you're going to feel your whole life like you're chasing the wind. So yeah, those things are around, but they're just a means. They're just a part of life. They're not the most important thing. He says, I've tried it all. The goal is God. Love God. Enjoy life. It's great. How good do you think you are at enjoying life? Today we're going to talk a little bit about happiness and joy. I don't think they're exactly the same, and I'm going to use both words sort of interchangeably, but not exactly. It's not a word study, but in general, I think sometimes happiness comes and goes, but joy ought to be something that camps out. Someone that has joy in their heart, it's something that tends to transition through the difficult times of life, the difficult circumstances. So today, joy in all things, joy for the common things, joy for the unseen miracles in life, for all the things that we take for granted that we don't feel are very spiritual. Why do we have trouble finding joy? three reasons. There are probably more, but I could only come up with three. Number one, we don't find joy because we think happiness and joy is a feeling. Oh, I've got to find the feeling. Oh, I'll be happy when I find the feeling. I don't feel the feeling. And so we all go to counselors. Can you help me find the feeling? You know, what if joy is more than a feeling? Barry Manilow kept trying to find the feeling, right? I mean, if we think happiness is about a feeling, the first moment you don't have it, you're going to feel depressed. Change the idea in your head that happiness or joy has anything to do with how you may feel in a particular moment. Second thing I would tell you about why we can't find happiness and joy is we think we're just going to go catch it, like you catch a fish. You know, we're just going to find the right moment, and it's just around the corner, it's just around the bend, it's just over the rainbow, and we chase it as if it's something we're going to catch. Have you ever chased anything? I don't know why, but when the word chase came into my mind and I was working on this, I thought of being in second grade and what I did at recess, which was to chase the girls, of course. I never caught them, but one time a girl was chasing me. It was very exciting. And I let her catch me. I got my first kiss in second grade from Sue Ellen Butler. But you know, some things in life we chase. Joy, it's not something we're going to catch that's just around the corner. It's here. It's waiting for you. I mean, it's here right now. It's not a tomorrow thing. It's not a just when things line up, which is the third reason why we don't find joy. We think it's about things. If I could just find the right career, if I could find the right job, if I could just make a little bit more money, if I could just find that person to be my life partner, if I could have a family, if I could get a new job, a new wife, a bigger TV. You ever go into Costco and see they always have the biggest ones right by the door, like 80 inches. I'm thinking, where would you even, if we just get this next thing, then we'll be happy and fulfilled. And over and over, Jesus, he says, guys, life's not like that. It's not about that. In Luke 12, a great parable, the parable of the rich fool, Jesus says, watch out. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in an abundance of possessions. In fact, the joy in life comes when we start giving those things away, when we start living a generous life. Think about our friends in Nicaragua. 80 families in the village, not one television, not one car, not one motorcycle. They're just getting water later this year because of your generosity. Some amazing things are happening to them, but are they miserable? Do they come out to the bus and meet us and say, help us be happy? No, they are happy. They meet us singing songs about God and about their family. They have a walk with God. They have each other. Life does not consist in an abundance of things, and we miss joy because we're just thinking, if I can get into that next neighborhood or get my kid into that better school. Well, today, Pastor Sherry and Pastor Wendy are preaching. Sherry's opposite the other schedule here, and Pastor Wendy is in Raytown. Do you know what these young ladies are going through? Pastor Sherry is in the middle of chemotherapy for cancer, and they've told her that they're very sure that she's going to be completely cured. But do you think there's anything easy about this? She said, Jeff, I cried a little bit, but then I determined that I was going to model joy, that I was going to try to teach people that in the midst of the worst, we can still trust God. Pastor Wendy, she's been sick for months. They think she might have MS. She has a lesion on her spine. For over 2 years, she's been posting on Facebook every day something to be grateful for, something to be thankful for. In the midst of very big problems, they are seeking to display the joy of the Lord. And I hear stories like this and I say, okay, I can't even talk about my problems because my problems are nothing compared to that. And sometimes I think, well, I shouldn't even think about my problems, but we do, don't we? I mean, we can take a lot smaller problems and make them seem big. In fact, when just little problems are going on in my life, I can just make them enormous. I think about them. They eat my lunch. People come to see me about things much, much smaller than that, and they've made it just this gigantic thing. You know, when my kids were in preschool, they were driving me crazy. If you have little kids, you know what I'm talking about. Like they were 3 and 4 and 5, and it was like, ah! And I made the mistake of saying to someone who had teenagers, oh, my kids are driving me crazy. And that person just, nah. You know, he said, just wait. And you know, we take small problems and make them giant. So no matter what's going on in your life, we still have this challenge to find the joy. How do we do it? Number one, get rid of selfish attitudes. Anytime you sniff around in your heart and you hear something that sounds like, I want what I want when I want it, understand that's got to go. If it's about you, you're never going to find the joy. And what did we say when we were kids? I'm going to take my toys and go home. You know, we adults, we still say that. If it doesn't go my way, then I'm just out of here. If I don't like how this is going, I'm gone. And do you hear what we're saying? My happiness, my joy is going to be conditioned on how I think things are going. Oh, friends, may we set selfishness aside and learn to seek a happiness, a joy that's rooted in something bigger than whether or not this thing goes our way. Some things we can manage, some things are beyond our control. When Jenny, one of my daughters, I won't mention her name, she was probably 7 or 8, and I heard her pitching a fit in the kitchen. And I wandered through just to see what was going on, and I don't remember what she was upset about. But I said to her, who do you think you are, the boss of the world? And she said, no, but I'd sure like to be. You know, if you want to find joy, set aside selfishness. It will get in the way every time. Second thing we can do to find joy, make every day a party. And if you were raised in a guilt and repressive upbringing in some kind of church, that's going to sound odd to you to make every day a party. But the writer of Ecclesiastes is saying exactly that when he says, always be clothed in white. Always anoint your head with oil. Well, when they worked in the fields, they didn't wear white. White was what you wore when you weren't going to get dirty. White was what you wore to a celebration, to a festival, to a party. He's saying every day there's something to celebrate. Every day there's something good. Every day there's something to put our arms around. Put on your white clothes. Rediscover the good in life. Look around and see that there's something every day that we can celebrate. People that embrace this philosophy begin to find joy because they're saying, I'm not going to be a victim to circumstance. I'm going to be a victor. And you know, those people also become very deep. Some of the deepest people we know are folks that face difficult circumstances and it doesn't seem to be eating their lunch. You know, difficult circumstances are coming for all of us. We'd like to pretend that they're not, but they are. If you live long enough, you will bury your parents. If you live long enough, something that we don't want to have happen is going to happen. My wife and I have this kind of uncomfortable discussion that we have from time to time that someday I will take care of her when she's sick and bury her. Or she will take care of me when I'm sick and bury me. Tragic moments of life. And I don't want to suggest to you that those moments can be enjoyed, but I have watched some very amazing, mature people walk through some of these dark valleys. And I listen to their prayers and I look into their heart, and this is some of what you hear from people who are leaning into God in those difficult moments. They say things like this: God, I knew the day was coming that we would be facing this. I'm sorry it's here so soon. Thank you that you're with us in this dark valley. Thank you that I can be with my spouse during this difficult time. Not necessarily a great joy, but we don't have to have our life ruined by every difficult thing that comes along. Third thing that we can do to find the joy is trust God. You know, as long as we're holding on to a thing, as long as it's about us, we're never going to be happy. It's when we learn to trust God that we truly find the joy. And so there's the story of the man who never thought God gave him a fair shake. God, you're not giving me a fair shake. God, you never answer my prayers. So God said, hey, I hear you. I'm tired of your whining. I'm going to give you 3 wishes, whatever you want. And the guy says, okay, my wife has not been very nice to me. I want her to rest in peace. This is obviously not a true story. So in the next scene of the story, we find him at his wife's funeral. And to his surprise, the place is packed with people that loved his wife. And they're telling all these amazing stories about who she was and what an incredible person she was. And he realizes he's made a terrific mistake. And he misses her and he's sorry. So he says, God, for my second wish, I'd like to have my wife back. So poof, his wife is back. Now he has 1 wish left. 1. And some of his friends are advising him. One says, ask for health. One says, ask for money. One says, ask for a long life. And he can't decide. And so finally he's praying and he said, God, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I just throw myself upon you. I put my life in your hands. And I want for me whatever you want for me. And God's going, it's about time. You know, that's what the relationship with God is all about. It's about us turning ourselves over to him. And God says, so here's what I would want for you. That you would learn to find happiness, joy, and contentment no matter the circumstances. Number 4, we find joy by finding gratefulness. You know, we still think happiness and joy is a feeling, but when we talk about gratefulness, we see our brain starting to work that maybe there's something I can be thankful for. And friends, if you can find something to be thankful for, the joy just follows. All the other things that I'm bothered about in my life can take a second row if I just hold up this one thing that I'm thankful for. That's why Pastor Wendy has posted every day for almost 2 years something that she's thankful for. And so there's a story of a man who was fed up with his family. His life wasn't going the way he wanted it to. And he went to the priest and he said, I'm absolutely livid. I'm done with them. I'm tired of them. And the priest says, oh, what could be wrong? And the man says, my wife and myself, and we have 5 kids, and they're all big now, and they're big and smelly and young adults, and we live in this one little house, and it's terrible. They're driving me crazy. And the priest says, well, I can help you. Go home and take a goat into your house. So, because you always trust the priest, right? He goes home and he takes a goat into the house. And about a week later, he comes back and he's furious. You told me to take this goat in the house. What kind of a priest are you? And the priest says, well, what's happening? He says, oh, 1 small house, a wife, 5 kids, and a goat, and the place smells terrible. The goat's just making a mess of the place. The priest said, oh, okay, great. Go home, put the goat out, come back and see me in a week. So a week later, the man comes back. He's got a smile on his face. And the priest says, so how are you? And the man says, I'm great. 1 small house, my wife, 5 children, and no goat. You know, if you can find something to be thankful for, it turns how we feel about everything else. Gratitude is one of the most amazing and powerful things in the world. Number 5, learn to live with heart. Whatever you do, do it with enthusiasm. The writer said, whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. Friends, put your heart into your responsibilities. Work as if you're working for the Lord. Walk the extra mile. Give your very best to life. The future is uncertain. We don't know if we have tomorrow, but today is an amazing miracle in and of itself. Someone asked Irma Bombeck about this. If she had a chance to live her life over, would she do anything different? This is some of what she said. Instead of wishing away 9 months of pregnancy, complaining about the shadow over my feet, I would have cherished every minute of it and realized that the wonderment growing inside me was going to be my only chance in this life to assist God in a miracle. I would have invited friends over to dinner even if the carpet was stained and the sofa was faded. I would have taken time to listen to my grandfather ramble on about his youth. I would have burnt the pink candle that was sculpted like a rose before it melted while it was in the storage box. I would have eaten less cottage cheese and more ice cream. When my child kissed me impetuously, I would never have said, "Later, now go get washed up for dinner." There would certainly have been more "I love yous," more "I'm sorries," more "I'm listenings." But mostly, if I had another shot at life, I would seize every minute of it. I would look at it and really see it. I would try it on. I would live it. I would exhaust it. And I would never give that minute back until there was nothing left of it. You remember the treasure in the field? The man stumbles upon it and sells everything he has to go buy that. It was there the whole time. He just hadn't found it. And the joy of the kingdom is like that. Joy in this life is like that. It's out there. It's out there, waiting for us to discover it. All we have to do is stop seeing what we do see and see what God's already put there. This week I was in class with some of these great pastors that are here today. And class would end at noon, and we'd eat lunch, and I'd leave the big old building on College and wander down the big staircase, out in the big parking lot, get in the car and drive home. The mundane things of life. Day after day, I got through with the class and ate the lunch and went down the stairs and out in the big parking lot and looked for the car and find the car and get on with my business. But on Thursday, an interesting thing happened. I was wandering across the big parking lot looking for the car, and I heard an amazing sound. What is that? It's a flute. It's a fife. Maybe it's a recorder. And whoever was playing it well. Is it from a car? Where is it coming from? And so I wander toward the joyful sound. You know, joy just can beckon. It can beckon you. I wandered toward the joyful sound. I got to the end of the parking lot, and I could tell that it was coming from out there. And I'd never noticed this before, but at the edge of the parking lot, there's a lake and a park. You know, sometimes we never see the beautiful things that are there because we're stumbling down the long staircase and stumbling through the parking lot looking for the car to go home, when right in front of our face is a lake and a park. And in this shelter house, there's a woman, and she's playing what I think was a recorder. And I stood and listened for the longest time. And I left that day with a joy in my heart because I'd listened to her song. Friends, joy is like this. It calls to us. It beckons us to forget the mundane. It beckons us to see the mundane as amazing and wonderful, to recognize that in the common things of life, there are lakes and parks that we're not going to see because we just haven't opened our eyes. And spirituality invites us to wake up, to look, to see. May it never be said of us that in this life we existed but never lived. A few years ago, we had a very painful funeral. a lot of grief. It was an untimely death. And I don't know why. Maybe because I felt the heaviness in the room, the heaviness, the brokenness that we feel at a time of death. And at the end of the service, after the closing song, I stepped down to the floor. And when I started to give the benediction, I said, we go forth to live. We go forth to live. And I liked it so much. It was so encouraging to me. I started doing it all the funerals now. And this is not a funeral today, certainly not. But friends, we go forth to live. Capital L-I-V-E, live. Out there is the joy, the treasure in the field. It's just right there waiting for us to see it. And so the writer says, eat your food with gladness. Drink your wine with a joyful heart. God has already approved of what you do. Enjoy your life. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. Let's pray.